Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sadia, for the nice introduction. And I'd like to apologize for last night's mishap. I appreciate you giving it a second try. So I wanted to talk, we're talking tonight about shifting to a plant-based diet. And this tends to be a very current topic because as we are experiencing issues with the environment and also with the increase in food cost, this is going to be something that more and more people are going to be considering. Wanted to talk a little bit about my book, Too Busy to Diet. It's the best nutrition guide for busy people. And I wrote this book to help people learn what's important for good nutrition and also to learn ways that they can do it more easily. And with COVID, it's become even more necessary to learn ways to cook easily, shop easily, and plan easily when we're making our meals. So many people are still working from home and they're involved with getting their kids to school, or sometimes they're at home because of COVID outbreaks. So it is a timely book. There's a number of ways that you can obtain Too Busy to Diet. You can get it today for purchase for $15. If you would like to get a copy, I have information at the end. I can mail it to you and I can even sign it for you. And the library at Elgin does have paperback and ebook copies. You can obtain an ebook copy at Amazon for $2.99. And you can also purchase the paperback at Amazon as well. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can obtain it from the Kindle edition that's free to borrow. And just check Goodreads, TooBusyToDietBook.com, and Too Busy to Diet Facebook for free ebook promotions. Before we get started, I wanted to go over a little bit about our objectives for this presentation. After we're done, you should be able to know about why individuals choose plant-based eating, appreciate the environmental and economic cost of meat eating, review the benefits of plant-based eating, acknowledge the cons of meat eating practices, and learn the fundamentals of plant-based, vegan, and whole food diets, and to recognize how to transition to a plant-based lifestyle. Also want you to be able to appreciate the nutritional concerns of plant-based eating and understand how to handle plant-based eating on the run, because so many of us are busy, busy, busy all the time. First, you may ask, why are people deciding to switch to a plant-based diet? There are many people that do not like the taste of meat. I have a grandson who just cannot stand the texture of meat products. Animal welfare is pretty much up there. Environmental concerns, that's becoming a biggie. Health concerns, we're finding more and more about how important it is to eat a more plant-based diet for health. Religious beliefs. I was talking to my physical therapist yesterday, and she's from India, and she was sharing with me her religion, which is a variation of Hinduism called Jainism, and they have a variation of the vegan diet. And then also the diet quality. The quality of plant-based diets does appear to be much better than a meat-based diet. The amount of water it takes to produce vegetables versus meat is just unbelievable. It's even hard to believe how much water it takes to make a pound of vegetables, but it's about 39 gallons of water for 1 pound of food. And for beef, it takes about 18,000 gallons of water to produce a pound of food. Then some of the hidden beef cost, 30% of the Earth's area is consumed by livestock. And we need about 1,800 gallons for a pound of meat, which I mentioned. 6.5 pounds of greenhouse gases are added to the atmosphere for a quarter pound of meat, which is quite a bit. As far as health, red meat is linked to heart disease, stroke, increased blood pressure, increased incidence of diabetes, premature death, and certain cancers. So there are quite a few reasons to switch to a plant-based diet. Beef prices are rising like crazy. All food prices are rising like crazy, but beef is going up like nobody's business. It's up about 23% from last year due to supply chain issues, the cost of gas, and also problems with getting employees. Forbes magazine is calling it a meatflation, which I think is pretty appropriate. And we're finding that it may be better for your wallet to try more vegetarian options. I like this slide because it shows all of the different organ systems that are affected by the consumption of meat products. We see our circulatory system, the heart is affected. We see female reproductive disorders, and we have issues with cancers, some of the rheumatologic problems. It's just unbelievable how it's affecting the body. But we do know that plant-based diets reduce the incidence of obesity, reduces the incidence of cardiovascular disease, cancer, and GI disorders. Vegetarians tend to have lower blood pressure, LDL cholesterol levels, which are the bad cholesterol. So you want to have a low LDL cholesterol level. Hypertension, we see lower incidences of hypertension and lower numbers of type 2 diabetes. And it's important to consider that during COVID, we have seen an increased amount of individuals developing diabetes. We have found that many people, even with mild COVID, have developed problems with diabetes because COVID has tended to do damage to the pancreatic cells and also makes it more difficult for insulin to work in the body. Some of the benefits of the plant-based diets, higher in fiber, we're going to get into why these are so important. Magnesium, potassium, vitamin C and E levels are elevated in plant-based diets, folate, flavonoids, and other phytochemicals. And we'll go more into those later. And it's lower in saturated fat and cholesterol, which has been associated with heart disease in many individuals. There are 7 things that can happen without meat. And what happens if you go more plant-based, you see a reduction of inflammation. When I think of inflammation, think of the heart being surrounded with redness. And it's almost like having a sword that's covering the heart. Atherosclerosis, the arteries and veins are being more filled with fat and cholesterol. Strokes, those are more common, diabetes, and autoimmune disease. There are microbiome changes, and it's important to remember that we have all of these little microorganisms. I always think of them as little tiny bugs in our body. And when you eat a vegetarian type diet or a plant-based diet, it promotes the production of friendly bacteria in our gut. And that's usually due to the fact that high fiber diets allow the friendly bacteria to be replaced in our gut with the bad types of bacteria. With meat, we increase cholesterol plaques due to carnitine, which is an amino acid, which is part of protein in meat. and it's metabolized by the liver to form what's called trimethyl amino oxidase. That is toxic to the body. So that is definitely something that we have found is not good for the body as a result of meat consumption. Genes change how they work. And one of the things in terms of cancer is when you eat a plant-based diet, you can decrease the changes in genes. We call it oxidation, when a gene starts to age and it gets more burned out. And a plant-based diet will help us age more slowly, and it'll also decrease the expression of cancer cells. So this is really very important. It reduces the diabetes chance by reducing damage to the pancreatic cells, inflammation to the pancreas, weight gain, and also insulin functions, which I had mentioned. Vegetarian diets allow enough protein. Meat eaters get about 1.5 times the protein that's needed. And I always tell my patients, when excess protein is stored as fat, it's stored as fat if you eat too much, or it's excreted as waste. So when you are eating too much protein, it is going through the kidneys and it becomes a very, very expensive urine. And it's very harmful to the kidneys because it puts more of a strain on them. Meat eaters, non-meat eaters, consume about 10% of their calories from protein, versus those that eat meat, they're consuming about 15 to 20%. And some of our men who are consuming large amounts of protein could get as much as 25 to 30% of their calories from protein. We are also seeing a reduction in the environmental impact. Now, if you look at this slide, you will see this is a vegetarian diet. You're going to include your dairy products and your grain and starchy vegetables, about 5+ servings a day. It's a little bit more than half the plate, and about 3 servings of your beans and legumes, vegetables about 4 servings a day, and fruits about 2 servings, and seeds about 1 to 2, and actually nuts as well, 1 to 2 servings. We usually think of eating about half our plate with fruits and vegetables. And this is another vegetarian pyramid. The foods that you should be eating the most of are at the bottom: your vegetables, your fruits, then your grains, then your pastas, your cereals. Then we go into the next level with the different types of products like your soy and soy milks, and some of your, in the next level, it's coconut, and again, pumpkin, and some other nuts. And at the very top is a reduction in the amount of oil that you're eating in your diet. It's not that you have to eliminate it, but you're watching that because the calories are very concentrated in your fat sources. But these are the healthiest. As far as a vegan diet, again, pretty much the same as what I just covered. Fruit and vegetables, about half the plate. Grains, about half a plate of fruits and vegetables. Grains, about 1/4 of a plate, and 1/4 of the plate with protein. So that could be soy, that could be beans, that could be nuts. And then calcium, your leafy green vegetables. And if you're not eating dairy, you can go with fortified soy milk and different types of juices, tofu, and other items. It seems when you're starting a vegetarian diet that you're restricting a lot, but actually, if you look at it, you see that you're getting a very large number of foods that you may not even think of as a complete diet. You get your fruits, you get your veggies, you get your tubers. That would include sweet potatoes, yams, carrots, beets, things like that. And then your whole grains, go back. Whole grains, the different types of products, millet, quinoa, barley, whole wheat, breads, rice, and oats. And then your legume type products. So it does give you quite a bit of leeway in terms of what you can eat. Wanted to go over plant-based versus vegan type foods. The X's are the foods that are not consumed by the group. The vegans do not consume meat or poultry, seafood, or egg and dairy products. And plant-based diets, they restrict meat or poultry, seafood, and egg and dairy products. You may have some individuals who are consuming the dairy products as part of a plant-based diet, but we also have flexitarians who will consume chicken or seafood, and some even eat eggs. So that's a difference. And whole food, plant-based diets, they're even more restricted. They watch the meat, the seafood, the eggs and dairy. They watch oils. They watch highly processed foods, sugars, anything that comes on the shelf in the grocery store. Whole grains they eat fruits, vegetables, and starchy vegetables, and legumes. One of the first steps to plant-based eating is to consume a plant protein, a meat plant, wait a second. In place of meat, use one plant protein every week. And vegetables and fruits should cover half your plate. Add veggies and tomato sauce to tomato sauce or pizza. And then for your snacks, go with carrots, green peppers, cherry tomatoes, celery, broccoli, or cucumber slices. And in place of rice, try quinoa, bulgur, or millet. Some more steps to plant-based eating. Add oatmeal or barley to your soups. Eat oatmeal or quinoa for breakfast. And quinoa has a very nice taste to it. That might be something that you could give a try to. Then walking the mile, we're going to go a little bit further. Toss beans, chickpeas, edamame, or lentils into your salads. Use beans in your soup. Make or buy hummus, which you can get in the store pretty easily, to dip vegetables or whole grain breads into. And then use round flaxseed to cereal, yogurt parfaits, or smoothies. And again, that's pretty easy to get at the grocery store. Now we're going to go traveling a little further with plant-based diets. You can snack on nuts and seeds and make trail mixes with seeds or nuts. And that's one of the recipes in my book that incorporates a healthy trail mix that can be incorporated into a vegetarian diet. And use nut butters or whole wheat toast or breads. So instead of your margarines, your butters, you can add those in their place. Meatless Monday, this has been around for quite a while. Most institutions, cafeterias in schools, and also at companies, there has been a real focus from the individuals at those institutions to incorporate more meatless meals. And even at home, more families are starting to go meatless on Mondays. And I do work with emotionally challenged people, and we have been incorporating plant-based meatless Monday meals, and the residents really like them. A vegan diet, I think, is a little bit more difficult to start off without really thinking it through. It takes a little bit more of a challenge. I really like the Fork Over Knives books. You'll see some of my slides, which they gave me permission to use, but they have some free recipes every week. All you need to do is Google Forks Over Knives, and you can get those free recipes, and they're beautifully done. Then there is recipe and meal planning that you can actually purchase, and those are only about, the app is relatively cheap. It's about, I think, $5. And then again, they have their recipe app. They also have a cooking class that you can sign up for. It's pretty complete. It has to be something that you really want to do because it is pretty extensive. The video, Forks Over Knives, that is a free video. I've seen it. I think it's excellent. If you get a chance, you can go to their website, and it is on YouTube. So I would definitely try to see that. And then their magazine. This is a very, very complete and nice magazine that you can purchase, and it gives you a lot of different ideas for putting together a vegan plant-based diet. Some of the nutritional concerns for plant-based eating is that plant-based diets can provide adequate intakes of protein, vitamins, and minerals, but you need to make sure that your diet is providing enough protein sources. This can be done by combining whole grains, rice, and legumes. One of the things, if you have heard about plant-based eating, is that you need to combine your essential and non-essential amino acids. And there are 9 essential amino acids. And I'm here to tell you that that concept has really gone out. It has been found by research that the majority of plant-based eating individuals are getting adequate amounts of protein. The only way that you would wind up without enough protein in your diet is if you're only eating fruit. How much protein is enough? To figure that out, for each of you, you take your weight in pounds, you multiply it by 0.36. So an example is a 150-pound person. You multiply it by 0.36. Whoops, I'm going to have to go back. And you get 54 grams of protein. That's just a rule of thumb, but it gives you an idea of what you need. Protein importance. It's really interesting. In my practice, I have seen young women who want to go towards a vegetarian type lifestyle or a plant-based diet, and they come in and they've been doing it on their own. And you could see the first thing is that they're starting to have hair loss. They're very tired, their hair color has changed, and they just do not look very healthy. Protein is very important in the diet. It makes up the structure and function of our body. It makes up our DNA or genetic materials, our reproductive type genetic material, makes up cells, nerves, skin, muscles, and hair. So if you're not getting enough protein, you're going to see a real big difference in your body. Most protein products also include B vitamins. So if you have a protein deficiency, you're going to wind up with anemia. What are some of our good sources of plant-based proteins, or not plant-based products, are going to be milk, eggs, nuts, and beans. Soy is the best known plant protein containing all of the 9 essential amino acids. And the soy protein that's found in the soy products is equal to that found in meat and eggs. So you don't need to worry if you're consuming soy milk, soy protein, or any of the soy meat products. Why is vitamin B12 important? It's important in maturation of your red blood cells, the function of nerves, and also DNA synthesis or the making of genes. And oftentimes, if you're not getting enough, You're going to have anemia, you'll be dizzy, you'll feel pale, you'll wind up with fatigue, neuropathy, you'll feel little bits of almost like you've stuck your finger in an electric socket, and more severe mental impairment. The ways that you can get vitamin B12, you can use foods that are fortified with it, like cereals, seaweed, or spirulina, and your yeast products. I'll show you some of those in a minute. Fortified soy products, which would be your milks, vitamin B12 supplements or multivitamins, which you can get at the store, and beef liver, eggs, dairy products, fish, and chicken. Just so you know that these are the products that meat eaters are using to get their vitamin B12. That's why you have to be really very careful to make sure you're getting a source of vitamin B12 from your plant-based diet. These are some of the yeast products. Fleischmann's has an instant or rapid rise yeast product. Red Star has one as well. They also have yeast flakes. I always forget the name of this. Bob's, you used to have to mail for his products, but now you can find them in the grocery store. Bragg's is another company that's available at the grocery store, and Kraft has what's called Vegemite. These are all yeast type products. As far as which types of plant-based diets provide adequate vitamin B12, lacto-ovo, when you include eggs, lacto plant-based diets, and flexitarian, if you're getting milk or if you are adding chicken or fish, you will get adequate vitamin B12. But a vegan diet can be vitamin B12 deficient, and macrobiotic can also be nutritionally inadequate, and also zenbiotic, which are not nutritionally adequate as well. And there's been a lot of individuals who consume the macrobiotic and zen macrobiotic diets for cancer treatment. And those individuals have to be very careful that they're getting appropriate amounts of vitamin B12. Iron's another one that's found in your red meats and meat type products. Again, it's involved with the red blood cells carrying oxygen through the body. It's involved with the immune system and the synthesis of our genetic material. Calcium, fiber, and phytates will inhibit absorption, and phytates are found in whole grains and dry beans. And polyphenols inhibit the absorption also of iron. Those are found in tea, coffee, herbal teas, and cocoa. Some of your iron sources are, beans, dark green leafy vegetables, green peas, dried fruits, and iron fortified cereals, breads, and pastas. So you can get them. One of the things you have to be aware of is that vitamin C enhances the absorption of iron. So when you're consuming your iron type product, they should be consumed along with citrus fruits. Your strawberries, oranges, bell peppers are some of your better known products. Any of your berries, really. Grapefruit, mangoes are very high, kale, pineapple, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and cantaloupe. So these are all really good sources of vitamin C. Zinc, some of the nutritional concerns. Again, vegan diets do not provide adequate amounts of zinc because plant foods do not provide zinc in them. And plant and whole grains contain phytic acid that reduces their absorption. Yeast is used in leavening whole grain bread. It allows enough zinc for absorption by the body. And mild deficiency in kids can affect immunity. It can impair their growth and brain development. And this is an area where Again, growth and development, their immune response, you'll see kids who are not getting enough zinc, getting sick more often, having problems with concentration, and then in older people, reproduction. Iodine food content is dependent on the soil it grows in. Mountains areas and river deltas are generally deficient in iodine, and some of the food sources include seafood, seaweed, milk, and iodized salt. But remember that iodized salt is not present in sea salt. Then we go to our fatty, omega-3 fatty acids. We are concerned with the fatty acids EPA and DHA. They're both N3 fatty acids. They're involved in cardiovascular health and eye and brain development. And those have become important in supplements that are given to women during pregnancy. So years ago, they did not supplement the food, but we know that those are important for brain development. Vegetarian diets tend to be high in omega-6 fatty acids, but they may be low in the N3 fatty acids. Some of the food sources for fatty acids will include DHA fortified soy milk and breakfast bars, fatty fish such as bluefish tuna, canned and wild salmon, mackerel, and sardines. And I have a granddaughter who is our little sardine girl, so we don't worry that much about her. Fish oil supplements, you can get those in the grocery store. I get the Nature Made fish oil. I like this company, and also walnuts. Then your calcium nutritional concerns. Calcium is necessary for building bone mass and also your bone density. And this is during puberty through adulthood. And generally you'll see that until about age 30. And then after age 30, we need to be concerned with bone maintenance. And it's also important for nerve transmission, muscular regulation, especially in the heart. And I wanted you to see this little slide. I worked for a company that was concerned with osteoporosis for individuals. And if you look to the left, you can see this little bone model. And this is a healthy bone. And you could see that you could not stick your finger through that. It's pretty solid. But to the right, you'll see an osteoporotic bone that is soft. And you could actually stick your finger right through it. And you could see why this bone versus this bone will wind up breaking if an older person takes a fall. As far as your calcium recommendations or requirements, I should say, up to 19 to 50 years, we say 1,000 milligrams. Adults over 50, 1,200. For postmenopausal or amenorrheic females, and those would be our athletes. If they take estrogen, they should be getting 1,000 milligrams a day. If they're not taking estrogen, they should be getting 1,500. It's important to remember that vitamin D is crucial for calcium absorption. And then our dietary sources of calcium, milk, yogurt, cheese, those are going to be the things that your plant-based eaters that are eating dairy, they're getting it from there. In individuals that are vegans, they can get it from tofu. You can also get it from sardines for your typical vegetarian, salmon with bones. Almonds, broccoli, and collards can be good sources for vegans. However, it's important to remember that these foods do not provide a very large amount of calcium. And then we have foods that are fortified with calcium. These include cereals, breads, drinks, and snacks. And in my book, I have a really detailed chart of how to get calcium in your diet, and it goes into what to do if you're lactose intolerant. So I think that that's very helpful. Some of your nutritional concerns with vitamin D, I mentioned before, it helps maintain calcium levels. It contributes to healthy bones and teeth. It regulates over 50 genes, very important with our gene development, our reproductive system. If you don't get enough vitamin C, it will wind up with rickets in children, osteomalacia, or bad bones in adults. And cholesterol in the skin is going to be converted to vitamin D using the sun's ultraviolet light. And this is something very important for you to consider, because people nowadays are putting sunscreen on their body. They're covering themselves with it. The problem with that is that they're not getting enough vitamin D. And that can be very, very harmful to the body. So it's been suggested that you go outside for 15 minutes in the highest points of the day where you can get your sunshine, which would be about 10 in the morning till about 3 in the afternoon. And it is really interesting that individuals who live in climates, northern climates, Chicago is one, Seattle is another one. I have a friend in Seattle, and we're finding that people that live in these climates, actually even Norway, they are finding in research that these individuals have a higher incidence of multiple sclerosis and also diabetes type 1. And my friend in Seattle, she has MS, and her son has type 1 diabetes. So we really want to make sure that we're getting enough vitamin D. Those who have darker skin, so if somebody is an African American, they need to make sure that they are getting enough vitamin D. Those are using, again, large amounts of sunscreen, and vegans that are not using fortified foods or supplements. Some of your food sources will include herring, sardines, salmon, shrimp, and some mushrooms. So some individuals who are using, I guess you would call it a pescatarian, they're using some fish, they would not be as deficient. Fortified milk type products, orange juice is fortified with vitamin C, rice drinks, cereals, margarines, many soy products. It used to be that yogurt and cheeses were not fortified with vitamin D, but most of the time now they are, but just be careful that you're getting that. And then, as I mentioned before, if you're not getting enough sunlight, make sure that you're getting supplements. Soy protein. Tempeh is a soy protein that provides fiber, B vitamins, and iron. It has a mild flavor. It's compatible with casseroles, stir fries, and chili. Soy protein is a great protein choice. And soy or bean curd is good protein and also a good calcium source. It's used in meat analogs. It's used in meat substitutes and your veggie burgers. Now, guarding your gut. This is an important issue because, as I mentioned before, your gut includes thousands of little tiny, I think of as little bugs, and there are a lot of harmful bacteria in the digestive tract. And when you're eating fiber and fiber-rich foods, like your fruits and vegetables, your beans and lentils, your grains, whole grains, nuts and seeds, you are going to be feeding the beneficial bacteria in your gut, and they're going to be replacing the bad bacteria. And then some of our fermented foods, those include some of your yogurt, sauerkraut, kefir, kombucha, kimchi, and miso. So that's how you can keep a healthy gut. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can get the right foods when you're going to restaurants. You can ask the server for vegetarian entrees. I see more and more restaurants providing vegetarians or plant-based eaters with entrees that are vegetarian. And you could also ask if the entree can be modified to make it meatless. A lot of times the appetizers are meatless and you could use that as an entree. Baked potatoes with cheese or baked potatoes with vegetables are a good choice. Pasta with cooked vegetables, bread and a side salad would make a complete meal. And make sure that your soups and sauces have a vegetarian broth. Many of the restaurants may not use vegetarian and may use animal-based broths. Some of your more ethnic foods, Italian, lasagna, the vegetable or cheese, if you're watching your cheese products, ravioli. I think ravioli is a great food to have on hand in the freezer. If you're a vegan, go with the vegetable type. If you're not, you can go with the cheese. Manicotti, vegetable or cheese. Bean or cheese tacos or burritos. Fajitas, again, bean for your vegans. Cheese can be used for your other plant-based eaters. Mediterranean food, falafel, hummus, tahini, and chickpeas, all good choices. Moroccan dishes, fava beans with lentils. Egyptian dishes, kashari, which is a combination of rice, lentils, and macaroni. Those are good choices. As far as some of your meat type products that you can find in the grocery store, we have a company called Quorn Meatless Patties. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Impossible Foods, Impossible Burger, Daring Foods Chicken, Beyond Ground Beef, Boca Original Vegan Veggie Burgers. One thing that's important to check, some of these products are very high in regular fat and also saturated fats. So even though they appear to be healthy, you should be watching them if you do have heart type issues. And then again, Beyond Ground Meat, Boca Original Vegan Veggie Burgers, Good Catch plant-based breaded fish fillets. And these do not have fish in them, but they're plant-based. Beyond Meat, Beyond Burger, Whole Foods 365 meatless meatballs. And those are highly recommended by a number of my patients. Again, mention the Beyond Meat. Morningstar Farms has great products. Gardein Golden Fishless Filet, Tofurkey, Ives Veggie Cuisine Field Roast. So there's quite a few. Years ago, you'd have a couple, maybe 3 or 4, but nowadays it's becoming so popular that the food industry is really incorporating more choices. This is a picture of a veggie burger, and it looks really good. Years ago, you would never see something that looks so appetizing. Also, a lot of people make black bean burgers. There are recipes for those. You could probably get them at Fork Over Knives. Those are tasty. A lot of people enjoy those. And here is a tortilla filled with vegetables. Again, you're combining the tortilla with the vegetables. So right there, you have a complete protein. And the different nut butters, I would always have those available as a choice. And your lentils, those are very popular. This one just happens to have hard cooked eggs with them for people that are not vegans. And then when you're comparing the plant-based milk alternatives, you can see here all the different types of milk type products: soy, quinoa, oat, hemp, sesame, hazelnut, rice, almond, and coconut. And the calories tend to be, almond is very low. These do not have all that much protein in them. But if you're looking for something to give your coffee in the morning a taste, or your tea, they're good choices, or you're actually even cereal. Grocery shopping, when you're on the go, look for your frozen food sections that offer vegan and plant-based choices. Look for whole grains and meals that are lower in sodium, because a lot of these foods do have a lot of sodium in them. Amy's is an excellent brand. Dr. Prager's is very good, and Trader Joe's offers good vegetarian options. Wait. Okay, soy protein is the best known of plant proteins that contains all the essential amino acids, so it is a complete protein. And here you can see a piece of tofu, and that goes really nicely in your vegetable type dishes. Fast foods, if you go to fast food type places, Wendy's, baked potato with cheese and broccoli. You could take the cheese off or ask for it without for your vegans. And again, cheese or vegetable pizza with a salad is a good entree. Get rid of the cheese for vegans. Grilled veggie sandwiches, those are becoming more and more popular. Eggplant is a real popular one. The black bean sandwiches are quite popular. Veggie burgers, bean burritos. And again, make sure when you're eating these food to watch your sodium and fat intake for the rest of the day, because they're quite high. Some of your quick meals, and I think some of these are great. A lot of times, if you're going down the grocery aisle, you will see in the rice and couscous aisles, you will see box mixes, rice, risotto, quinoa, rice dishes, couscous, and vegetable chilies. And you will also see little packets of rice and risotto and couscous that you can either share with another person or you can actually use it yourself as a meal. And many brands offer meatless options with dairy or fish. And then you can add a vegetable, a salad, and a fruit for a complete meal. As far as if you could, like my Facebook page, it's Too Busy to Diet, and you can purchase my book at Amazon in either the Kindle or paperback book form. If you would like a autographed copy of my book, you can email me and I will sign it, and we can make arrangements for you to mail me a check. You can check out my blog at toobusytodietbook.com. You can ask for questions to be answered on my blog, and you could also ask for particular questions that you have about diet at my email address. And then follow my Twitter at Too Busy to Diet and Too Busy to Diet Facebook. And you know what? I just realized that this is incorrect. It should be Too Busy with a to diet, and then Too Busy to Diet Facebook. Now, I wanted to break now for some questions and see if anybody has anything they would like to share or if they would like to ask questions.